Well, let's just say this. America still has got the aces up her sleeve as long as all its citizens stay armed. I was going to present something here in the beginning before the silver update, but, one of the things that we used to hear sometimes that America lost the Vietnam War, bullshit. And that's more part of the major media propaganda to destroy the United States. Actually, if you look back in 1968, the Tet Offensive, the VC, the Viet Cong, ceased to exist. They were totally destroyed. And, it may come about when our enemies actually rear their ugly heads, because I know there's a lot of unpopularity on YouTube about Iran. They don't like me criticizing things, but you know what? If they had the upper hand and they had all the nuclear power of the United States, I don't give a damn if they did not strike anybody yet in the last 100 years. They would use it, because that's what happens, Napoleon, nothing happened before Napoleon in France, nothing happened in Germany before Hitler. Well, we got a new regime in Iran. So, one thing good about our military, we still got a lot of good people in it. And the problem is they're attempting to use Homeland Security to be run by foreigners, so they're going to implement laws that are against Americans. So, I include this because in these silver updates, a lot of things are about survival. It's not exactly about silver and investing. A lot of it's about survival itself and what's going to happen in the future. Now, I'm going to point something out because I talked a little bit about war here, but I think this is what's going to really play into the financial markets. I've been saying this for quite some time, and, I talk about bikes too, because I think it's an effective way to save a couple bucks and also improve your health at the same time. And it's, actually mental alertness and health has a lot to do with how well you're going to do in the financial world too. But I have to say this, the one thing that's really going to play out where the price of metals is going to go way up is if and when a war does occur. I've been talking about Iran, but you know what we got coming, looming on the horizon? Korea. And I know it's been talked about, and believe me, I've been in the military for a little while anyway, and, we heard rumors that when Kim Il-sung was going to die, he was definitely, when he died, that there was definitely going to be a war at that time, and, all the intelligence said that, and right now it looks that way too, but you know what? A little common sense. It's pretty obvious that there's a timetable coming up, but the United States is going to go to war with Iran. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. Do you think that would be an opportune time for Korea to strike? Now, I'm bringing this up for a reason, because I think it's going to affect financial markets big time. And look at the distance between Iran. If I just took the center of Iran here over to Korea by air, that's if you flew over China, which you're not going to do. It's 4,300 miles away. Have fun trying to fight, I'm going to say have fun. You're not going to be able to fight a two-front war. And actually, if we look in recent articles, the Marine Corps is even talking about cutting down on cost, like in other words, saving rounds, not shooting as much ammunition, trying to save money. There's a war that comes up in Iran. It's going to be big bucks just when you got the sequester coming up. And also, that will be the time that I think North Korea would strike. They're biding their time. So what would happen to the financial markets? Actually, I would think that in Japan, the markets would drop like crazy. It would affect the United States possibly. Gold and silver might actually pull back initially, but in times of uncertainty, gold, oil, actually oil goes through the roof. Even if Iran, if the war broke out in North Korea, oil would still go up. Oil is like the gold of the times of uncertainty in times of war. Oil is actually because it's the driving engine behind all the machinery. And if you look to the south, where you have the islands that are under contention between, actually they're Japanese islands, but the Chinese want them back because they used to be their islands 200 years ago. Now they found out there's oil and natural gas there. That's almost 1,000 miles south of Korea. So what's going to happen then? The American forces aren't going to be able to handle all this shit. No way. So there's going to be a lot of freaking problems going on, I think, not just in the military arena, but also in the financial markets. So expect This is probably a pretty decent bet. And I know when you're waiting around for this to happen, there's going to be several things that may coalesce at once. I don't like bringing up this doom and gloom crap, but if you got precious metals, you're actually in a major safety area. Major safety area, just like riding a bike, man. You got all the safety equipment going there. If you got the precious metals, you're in a safety area. Because if Iran goes off, just plain common sense, written like, in Dago colors right in front of my face, that would be the time North Korea would strike South Korea, when the United States is busy with Iran. If that doesn't go fast, well, it's like they're going to take a bet, basically, because maybe Iran might get their clock cleaned inside of 2 seconds flat. Maybe it might go really fast. If that's the case, then it's going to go from one war to the other. But it might be just enough to stretch things thin, just a little bit too much. And maybe China will move at that same time, too. So it's going to be an interesting situation. So, I have to say this. Dealers of death, that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. Because, and if you don't have gold and silver, I'm going to think that's the only part of the market that ain't going to get destroyed. Because in times of fear, people run into precious metals. That's usually what it is. It's not like an asset that's actually going to produce something for you. And, there could be a pullback in, Europe. Europe might fall apart, that type of deal. And sometimes they run into the dollar and they sell off metals at that time. But, there's going to be a point in time where that ain't going to happen either. Actually, you're going to see the metals just drive up and up and up. So, I got to say this. It's a waiting game. They're playing games with you. They're manipulating the markets. But it seems like the market is bigger than all the manipulators in the world. And there's going to be a time when the actual people on the top lose control. So, actually I post a lot of updates about more practical stuff. I like doing I'm going to probably get back to doing some of the motorcycle and bicycle stuff too, because I really do like that stuff. But, when I talk about these financial markets, I just like going from common sense. Because, you can look at charts all day, but if there's a big, ugly, freaking hyena sitting right there, I can't ignore it. I got to use a little bit of a common sense. And the big, ugly hyena that's sitting there right now, or hydra, that's sitting right there right now, is the war that might be coming up. And we talked about this for quite some time, but now, I started thinking about what's all this crap going on with Korea. Why are they talking all this shit all of a sudden? I mean, nothing's really changed that much in the last few years, right? Yeah, they got nuclear weapons, but they had them a while, right? You know what it is? They expect the United States to attack Iran, and that's going to be the time when they could possibly attack South Korea. Because they know it's going to be very difficult for the United States to wage those two wars at the same time. So, we'll see what happens with this deal, but, just like the lady standing here in the black with the black bike, man, it ain't all black, you know what I mean? You got to freaking look at the bright side. If you got shiny silver coins, you're going to be looking good. You're going to be looking good. It ain't going to be too much, doom and gloom for people who actually have the precious metals. And the one thing, if you're invested in probably oil, like if it's been doing crap for like the last year, and none of the predictions of Lindsey Williams came true, it was $150 to $200 barrel oil for the last 2 years he's been talking about. It may come about. It may come about. And, I'm going to probably get on a little more practical things, because if gold goes way up, silver, actually all three of them are going to run together. Gold, oil, and silver. And one of the most practical things you're going to see out there to save you a couple bucks is going to be the bicycle and a motorcycle. So I'm going to probably do some more updates on that. Eventually, I might do an update on a conversion. I don't know if I'm going to do that right away, because I don't really feel like it's a hell of a lot of work. Is putting a Volkswagen 1.6 diesel engine in a Samurai Jeep, which would get like almost 50 miles to the gallon and run off of hemp oil or vegetable oil or biodiesel and all this other garbage and peanut oil and anything else you could throw in it. Because I think one of the more practical things, I know it's all about silver and silver going up, but you also got to remember the equation it's not just how much money you receive, it's how much money is going out the door. And, you know, if silvers goes up, a lot of times you're going to see where silver goes up, a lot of times oil goes up a lot. 1979, when they had the Iranian hostage crisis, oil was going through the roof. They even put an excise tax on it, big time. And, you know, one of the ways you're going to save some money, where, you know, because actually one of the biggest things that people pay on a daily basis is either food and gasoline. So it's growing your own food, and one way you could probably stop from spending so much on gasoline is to ride the bicycle. So I'm actually going to get into some more videos on that, but just a little common sense, just to go back to what I was saying originally. We got the dealers of death war coming up here, I think. And the reason I'm sensing that North Korea is really talking a lot more crap right now, they realize what's going on with the sequester, the budget cuts, you know, the mandatory cuts, the fiscal cliff. The Marine Corps is even talking about saving ammunition. You know, and I say is get rid of the golf courses, you know, keep the ammunition, because there's a lot of waste out there. There's daycare centers, there's women in the military, they can't perform the function as they say they do, but they, you know, they deny it, they look the other way. And, you know, when you're talking about cost, you just need hardcore people, man, that can do the job as cheaply as possible, waste the freaking enemy, and go on with business from there. So that's basically what you do in the military. You deal death. You deal death, deal destruction, deal hurt, and that's all that. That's what it is. That's the game. But, you know, what I see is going on with North Korea. They're talking all this stuff right now because they know the United States is getting ready. They're on a hair trigger. They've almost been on a hair trigger for like a year already. And when something happens with Iran, they're going to be busy. If the United States gets bogged down in Iran, North Korea is definitely going to strike South Korea. I'm going to say that's a sure bet. But, you know, financially, if you're in gold, silver, and oil, you're going to be doing really good. And probably copper, too. And a lot of other freaking commodities, because they're going to move up. And see, all this stuff might coalesce together. Now, you're not going to see a complete destruction of the dollar. I'm going to tell you that right now. That will not happen right away, but you'll see a major devaluation of the dollar. So, don't, you know, I mean, right now, today, we're looking at the markets. You know, silver's down a little bit, platinum's down a little bit, palladium's down. Now, this is the reason I say is don't put 100% of your money into stuff, because, you know, I couldn't actually tell. Everybody's not going to make money off of this by betting one way or the other. Actually, a few people do, and most people don't. But the reality of it is most of the middle class is not invested in this stuff, and they're going to get screwed big time, which, I don't know. They've been told. You know, a lot of people are just like, you know, well, they're little yuppies, you know, so, I mean, they don't believe in the hard metals and stuff like that. They think it's all a big conspiracy, but it's not. It's not. Actually, you look back at history, it's freaking, histories are facts. It's not a conspiracy. And in times of crisis, it seems like precious metals go up due to fear. And we just might have this crisis coming up. It's pretty freaking obvious to me that Iran is going to be attacked pretty soon. I mean, I thought it was going to be last year, but I think it's pretty obvious right now. It's like there is a lot more pressure coming on the Obama administration, and sanctions aren't working. They're not stopping their nuclear program. And quite obviously, I think the reason why North Korea is talking so much garbage right now, and I don't think it's garbage, is because they're going to act when the United States acts upon Iran. That's when they're going to move. And they might wait to see how it goes, because, you know, if it turns out like it's a 100-hour war, like Desert Storm was, you know, they'll probably back off. But it may not be like that, and quite obviously it doesn't look that way, because Iran is a lot tougher opponent than Iraq. So we shall see. We shall see. But if you got the precious metals, that's where you're going to see a fast spike, including oil, even including copper too. And then just as a side note, I said one of the best ways you can invest in copper is to buy the physical nickels. You know, buy the physical nickels. And, you know, one other thing too, because, you know, I'm going to tell you, the other gold out there, they call it black gold, and I'm showing a girl with a black dress and a black bicycle. Black bicycle is actually going to be one of the damn things you want to have, because you're not going to be spending too much money on that oil. Because I think gasoline, if they have a war and it's a double war with the North Korea fighting South Korea and us bogged down in Iran, I think gasoline's going to be like $8 a gallon. And you know, the only thing you're going to be what you're going to be doing now is going to be, you want a bicycle. Definitely want a bicycle. So I got 2 bicycles. I got a motorcycle, and I have fuel. I have 500 gallons of diesel fuel. And actually, I think in the future I'm planning on putting a 1.6 Volkswagen Jetta engine, even though my engine in the Jeep is absolutely fine, into the Samurai Jeep, because it'll get 50 miles to the gallon, and you know, you can run off of vegetable oil. But you know, part of the thing that you want to actually remember, that you know, it's not just how much money you have coming in from your silver investment. I know it sounds bad today, me saying this, but it's going to play out. It's going to play out. It's going to play out. I want to say that over and over again. It's going to play out, and it's going to take you by surprise. Don't actually listen to all these guys that talk about, you know, all the markets, you know, and the markets are manipulated, the Fed's doing this. Just remember, in times of war, people start running into oil, precious metals, commodities go way up, and I think it's a pretty good bet the war drums are getting closer and closer. And when that happens, you're actually going to be way in the money, but your alts are going to have a hell of a lot more expensive, especially in fuel and food. So bicycle and motorcycle can help you with the fuel, and maybe some growing your own food might be some good ideas, because what I do is I actually have the sprouting trays, which is one of those ways you can make some really super organic, powerful foods that are nutritious, that even fight cancer and stuff. So, and save you a couple bucks. So that's what you're going to have to do. Get right back to basics. So just like Basic Black here. So anyway, just my update for now, because a little common sense. North Korea is beating the war drums right now because they probably expect the United States to attack Iran, and when that happens, that's when I think North Korea is going to pull the trigger, and possibly China might do something with Japan at that time when the United States is busy. And you watch the commodities go right through the roof. That's when the Illuminati is going to lose control big time. Big time.